She was walking down the middle of Route 47 at 3:17 in the morning, wearing nothing but a thin nightgown and one slipper, when Officer Daniel Martinez's headlights caught her. For a second, he thought his eyes were playing tricks, that the exhaustion from his double shift was making him see things that weren't there. But then she turned toward the light, her face pale and confused in the glare, and Daniel's heart dropped into his stomach. She was old, ancient, really. 90 if she was a day, and she was alone on a dark highway in the middle of nowhere, moving like a ghost through the November cold. Daniel pulled over, his hands already shaking as he reached for his radio. He'd been a cop for 12 years. He'd seen bodies and blood and things that still woke him up screaming. But something about this fragile woman wandering in the dark hit him differently. Hit him in a place he didn't know he had. What he discovered in the next 40 minutes would destroy him, would make him question everything he thought he knew about duty and family and what we owe each other, would send him home to his own mother and hold her like she might disappear. Because some stories don't have villains. Some stories just have people who stop paying attention. And sometimes that's worse. Daniel killed the siren before he even turned on his lights. Didn't want to scare her, didn't want her running into traffic or stumbling into the ditch that ran alongside the highway. He eased the patrol car to a stop about 20 feet behind her and got out slowly, leaving the door open, the interior light spilling yellow across the asphalt. "Ma'am?" His voice was gentle, the tone he used with frightened children and trauma victims. "Ma'am, are you okay?" She didn't stop walking, didn't turn around, just kept putting one foot in front of the other with the mechanical determination of someone who'd forgotten how to do anything else. Her bare foot, the one without the slipper, was bleeding, leaving small dark prints on the road. Her nightgown was torn at the hem and soaked through with dew. She was shaking violently, though whether from cold or fear or something else entirely, Daniel couldn't tell. He moved closer, keeping his footsteps loud so she'd hear him coming. "Ma'am, I'm a police officer. I'm here to help. Can you tell me your name?" Nothing. She just kept walking. Daniel came alongside her, matching her slow pace, and got his first good look at her face. It was a map of wrinkles and age spots, framed by white hair that hung in tangles around her shoulders. Her eyes were blue, that faded, washed-out blue that old eyes get, and they were focused on something Daniel couldn't see, something far away, somewhere else entirely. "Ma'am, you're going to catch your death out here. It's 38 degrees. Let me help you, okay? Let me get you somewhere warm." She stopped walking, just stopped, right there in the middle of the highway, and turned to look at him. Really look at him. And Daniel saw the confusion in her eyes, the fear, the complete and utter disorientation of someone who had no idea where she was or how she'd gotten there. "I need to get home," she said. Her voice was thin, reedy, barely more than a whisper. "Robert will be worried. I need to make his breakfast." "Okay," Daniel said softly. "Okay, we can do that. But first, let's get you in the patrol car where it's warm. Can you walk over there with me?" She looked at the car with its flashing lights. He'd turned them on, habit more than anything, and her face crumpled with panic. "Am I in trouble? I didn't mean to. I don't understand." "You're not in trouble. Not at all. I just want to help." Daniel held out his hand, palm up, non-threatening. "My name's Daniel. What's yours?" She stared at his hand like she'd forgotten what hands were for. Then slowly she placed her own hand in his. It was freezing, the bones feeling fragile as bird wings beneath papery skin. "Catherine," she whispered, "Catherine Walsh." "It's nice to meet you, Catherine. Let's get you warm. Okay?" He guided her to the passenger side of the patrol car, didn't want to put her in the back like a criminal, and helped her into the seat. She moved like someone much older than 90, like every joint was grinding bone against bone. Once she was settled, Daniel grabbed the emergency blanket from his trunk and wrapped it around her shoulders. Then he cranked the heat up to full blast. Catherine sat there staring straight ahead, her hands clutched in her lap. The bleeding foot was worse than Daniel had thought. Deep cuts from rocks or glass, dirt ground into the wounds. He radioed for an ambulance, gave his location, kept his voice calm and professional, even though his insides were churning. "Catherine, can you tell me where you live?" She turned to look at him, and for just a second, her eyes cleared, focused. Maple Street, 42 Maple Street, the White House with the blue shutters. Robert planted roses in the front yard. They bloom in June. Daniel pulled out his phone, typed the address into Google Maps. 42 Maple Street was 8.7 miles away. This 90-year-old woman had walked, barefoot in a nightgown, almost 9 miles in the dark. "How did you get out here, Catherine?" The clarity in her eyes faded. I was going to the market. Robert needs eggs. He likes eggs for breakfast. 2 over easy with toast." "What time did you leave your house?" "I don't know. It was dark. It's always dark now." Her voice had taken on a strange, dreamy quality. "Where am I?" "You're on Route 47, about 9 miles from Maple Street." She looked around the car interior with growing agitation. 9 miles? That's not right. The market is just down the street. Just 3 blocks. I walk there every Tuesday. "Catherine, what day is it?" "Tuesday." No hesitation. "What month?" She faltered. "June." "No, that's not. Is it winter? Why is it so cold?" Daniel felt something twist in his chest. He'd seen this before. His abuela, his grandmother, in the last year before she died. The confusion, the time slips, the wandering, Alzheimer's or dementia, or one of the dozen other things that could steal a person's mind while leaving their body behind. The ambulance arrived 12 minutes later, lights flashing, 2 paramedics Daniel knew from other calls. Rick and Amanda, good people. They approached the car gently, keeping their movements slow and their voices low. "Hey there, ma'am," Amanda said, crouching beside the open door. "My name's Amanda. I'm a paramedic. Officer Martinez called us because you've got some cuts on your foot that need looking at. Can I take a look?" Catherine pulled away, clutching the blanket tighter. "I don't need a doctor. I need to get home." "Robert, we'll get you home," Daniel said quickly. "But first, let's make sure you're okay. Let Amanda check your foot, please?" Something in his voice, maybe the genuine concern, maybe the way he said please like he was asking a favor instead of giving an order, made Catherine relax slightly. She let Amanda examine her foot, wincing when Amanda cleaned the wounds with antiseptic. "These are pretty deep," Amanda said quietly to Daniel. "She needs stitches, and she's hypothermic. Core temp is probably dangerously low. We need to transport." "Hospital or home?" "Hospital, no question." Daniel nodded. He turned back to Catherine. "Catherine, we need to take you to the hospital just to make sure you're okay, and then we'll get in touch with Robert. Let him know where you are." "Robert?" Catherine's face lit up with a smile that was heartbreaking in its innocence. "Yes, call Robert. He'll be so worried. Tell him I'll be home soon. Tell him I'm sorry I forgot the eggs." Daniel helped the paramedics get Catherine onto the stretcher. She didn't fight, just lay there wrapped in blankets, looking small and lost and impossibly fragile. As they loaded her into the ambulance, Daniel caught Amanda's eye. "I'm following you to the hospital. I need to track down her family." Amanda nodded grimly. She'd already guessed what Daniel was starting to suspect. The ride to County General took 20 minutes. Daniel spent it running searches on his laptop, trying to find information on Catherine Walsh, 42 Maple Street. Property records showed the house was owned by Robert and Catherine Walsh. A deeper search showed Robert Walsh had died 4 years ago. Heart attack, survived by his wife Catherine and 3 children. Jennifer, Michael, and David. 3 children. and their 90-year-old mother was wandering highways in the middle of the night. At the hospital, Daniel waited while they admitted Catherine, got her into a warm bed, stitched up her foot, started an IV for fluids and warming. She kept asking for Robert, kept saying she needed to get home, kept slipping between lucidity and confusion, like someone drowning in waves they couldn't see. The ER doctor, a tired-looking woman named Dr. Sarah Patel, pulled Daniel aside. She's severely hypothermic. Another hour out there, and she probably would have died. She's showing signs of advanced dementia, Alzheimer's most likely, but we'll need to run tests to confirm. The big question is why she was alone. Why no one was watching her. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Daniel called the first number he found for the children. Jennifer Walsh, listed as next of kin on old hospital records. The phone rang 6 times before a groggy voice answered. Hello? Is this Jennifer Walsh? Yes, who is this? It's 3:40 in the morning. Ms. Walsh, this is Officer Daniel Martinez with the County Sheriff's Department. I'm calling about your mother, Catherine Walsh. A long pause, then, what about her? I found her walking on Route 47 about an hour ago. She's at County General now. She was hypothermic and injured. Ms. Walsh, can you tell me why your mother was alone at 3 in the morning? Another pause, longer this time. Wait, what do you mean you found her on Route 47? That's impossible. She's at Sunrise Assisted Living. She's been there for 6 months. Daniel's blood went cold. Ma'am, I'm looking at your mother right now. She's in the emergency room at County General. She was walking alone on a highway in her nightgown. That's impossible, Jennifer repeated, but her voice had changed. Had gone from sleepy confusion to something harder, something defensive. The facility is supposed to. They have locks. They have alarms. She can't just walk out. Well, she did, and she walked 9 miles in 38-degree weather. She's lucky to be alive. Oh my God, Jennifer's voice cracked. Oh my God, is she okay? She's alive, confused. Keeps asking for someone named Robert. That's my dad. He died 4 years ago. She forgets. Most days she thinks he's still alive, thinks she needs to make his breakfast. Jennifer was crying now. I'm coming to the hospital right now. Give me 20 minutes. I'll be here. Daniel hung up and stood there in the antiseptic hallway, watching nurses move efficiently from room to room, listening to the beep of monitors and the murmur of voices. He thought about his own mother, 62 years old, living in a condo 40 minutes away. He called her once a week, visited once a month maybe, told himself he was busy, told himself she understood. But when was the last time he'd really checked on her, really made sure she was okay? Jennifer Walsh arrived 37 minutes later, looking like she'd thrown on the first clothes she could find. Sweatpants and a wrinkled t-shirt, no makeup, her hair in a messy ponytail. She was maybe 55, with her mother's blue eyes and the kind of exhausted face that comes from carrying too much weight for too long. Daniel met her at the entrance. Ms. Walsh? Where is she? Where's my mother? Room 7, she's stable, sleeping right now. Daniel walked with her, matching her quick stride. I need to ask you some questions. I need to see her first. They entered the room together. Catherine was tiny in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines, her white hair spread across the pillow. She looked peaceful, looked like she might just be napping instead of recovering from a brush with death. Jennifer made a sound, something between a gasp and a sob, and rushed to the bedside. She took her mother's hand carefully, avoiding the IV, and just stood there crying silently. Daniel gave her a minute. Then, Ms. Walsh, I need to understand what happened. You said your mother's been at Sunrise Assisted Living for 6 months? Jennifer nodded without looking away from Catherine. Yes, we moved her there after she started wandering. She walked out of her house twice in 1 week. The second time, a neighbor found her 3 blocks away in her nightgown. She didn't know where she was, didn't remember leaving. She wiped her eyes with her free hand. The doctor said it was Alzheimer's, said she needed supervised care. So we sold the house, 42 Maple Street, her home for 48 years, and we used the money to pay for Sunrise. It's one of the good ones. Or it's supposed to be. When was the last time you visited her? Jennifer's face flushed. 2 weeks ago. I try to go every week, but I have a job. I have kids. My daughter's in the middle of college applications, and my son has soccer tournaments, and my husband's been traveling for work. I can't be there every day. What about your brothers, Michael and David? Michael lives in Oregon. He visits when he can, maybe every few months. David's in Texas. He came at Christmas. Her voice was defensive now, brittle. We call. We check in. We're not neglecting her. Someone was. Daniel kept his voice neutral, but the words landed like stones. She walked out of a locked facility, walked 9 miles in freezing weather, and no one noticed until I found her in the middle of a highway. That's not my fault. That's the facility's fault. They're supposed to watch her. Ms. Walsh, don't. Jennifer whirled on him, her face contorted with anger and guilt and grief. Don't you dare judge me. You have no idea what it's like. No idea what the last 4 years have been like. Watching my mother disappear piece by piece. Watching her forget my name, forget my father, forget everything that made her who she was. Trying to balance her care with my own family, my own life. Spending every penny from the sale of her house on a facility that promised to keep her safe. And now you're standing here acting like I'm the villain? I'm not saying you're the villain. I'm saying your mother almost died tonight. The fight went out of Jennifer like air from a balloon. She sank into the chair beside Catherine's bed, put her face in her hands and sobbed. I know, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to do this. Daniel pulled up another chair, sat down. Tell me about her. Before all this. Jennifer looked up surprised. What? Your mother. Who was she before the Alzheimer's? Jennifer stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly she started talking. She was a teacher, 3rd grade, 36 years at Roosevelt Elementary. Every single kid loved her. She had this way of making learning fun, of making every child feel special. She'd spend her own money on books and supplies, would stay late to help struggling students. When she retired, the school named their library after her. She was married to Robert for how long? 51 years. They met at a church social when she was 19. She said it was love at first sight. Though Dad always joked it took him 3 dates to convince her. They were the kind of couple you see in movies, still holding hands in their 70s, still making each other laugh. Jennifer's voice broke. When Dad died, something broke in her. She started forgetting things. Small things at first, where she'd put her keys, what day it was, then bigger things. And then she started forgetting him. No, that's the thing. She never forgot him. She just forgot that he died. Every morning for the past 4 years, she's woken up thinking he's still alive. And every time we remind her he's gone, she has to grieve all over again. It's like losing him 1,000 times. Daniel thought about that, about waking up every morning to the same devastating loss, fresh and raw, over and over, about what that would do to a person's mind. So we stopped reminding her, Jennifer continued. The doctor said it was more humane to just let her think he was alive. Let her think he was at work or at the store or wherever her mind placed him. It seemed kinder. Is that why she was walking tonight, looking for him? Probably. She used to walk to meet him after work. Every day for 36 years, she'd walk the 3 blocks from their house to the factory where he worked, and they'd walk home together. I think, Jennifer looked at her sleeping mother, I think some part of her remembers that, remembers the walking, even if she doesn't remember everything else. A nurse came in to check Catherine's vitals, adjusted her IV, left without saying much. The machines beeped steadily. Outside the window, the sky was starting to lighten, that gray pre-dawn that makes everything look washed out and surreal. I need to call Sunrise, Jennifer said quietly. Find out how this happened. I already did, Daniel said. Talked to the night supervisor while you were driving here. The door alarm malfunctioned. They didn't know it was broken until they did bed checks at 4 a.m. and found your mother missing. They've been searching for her for the past hour. An hour? She was gone for 4 hours before they even noticed. Yeah. Jennifer's hands clenched into fists. I'm pulling her out. I don't care what it takes. She's not going back there. Where will she go? The question hung in the air between them, because that was the real problem, wasn't it? Not that Catherine had wandered, not that the facility had failed, but that there was no good answer to the question of what to do with a 90-year-old woman who couldn't be left alone, who needed constant supervision, who was both physically present and mentally somewhere else entirely. I don't know, Jennifer whispered. I don't know. Daniel stood up. I need to file a report. I'll be back in a bit to check on you both. He left the room and walked down the hallway, past other room with other people having other emergencies. He thought about calling his mother. It was 5 in the morning now. She'd be awake, probably already making coffee, reading the newspaper the way she did every morning. He pulled out his phone, stared at her number, couldn't quite bring himself to dial. Because what would he say? Hi, Mom, just calling to make sure you're okay, that you haven't wandered into traffic, that you still remember who I am? What kind of conversation was that? He went outside instead into the cold dawn air and called his sergeant to report what had happened. Protocol, paperwork, the machinery of law enforcement grinding forward. But his mind wasn't on the report. It was on Catherine Walsh, sleeping in a hospital bed, dreaming about a husband who'd been dead for 4 years. It was on Jennifer Walsh, crying in a chair, crushed under the weight of impossible choices. It was on all the families out there doing the same dance, trying to care for aging parents while living their own lives, trying to honor the people their parents used to be while dealing with who they'd become. There were no villains in this story, just people doing their best and failing anyway. Dr. Patel found him 20 minutes later. Officer Martinez, I thought you'd want to know. Mrs. Walsh is awake. She's asking for her daughter and for Robert. Daniel went back inside. Back to room 7. Catherine was sitting up slightly, her blue eyes clearer than they'd been on the highway, but still clouded with confusion. Jennifer was holding both her hands, tears streaming down her face. Mom, I'm right here. I'm right here. Catherine looked at her daughter like she was seeing her for the first time. Jenny? When did you get so old? Jennifer laughed through her tears. I'm 55, Mom. I've been old for a while now. 55? That can't be right. You're just a little girl. You're... Catherine's face crumpled as reality and memory collided somewhere in her fractured mind. Something's wrong. Something's very wrong. You're safe, Mom. You're in the hospital. But you're safe. Where's Robert? I need Robert. Jennifer glanced at Daniel, her eyes pleading. Daniel gave a tiny nod. He's at work, Mom. He'll be here soon. Catherine relaxed slightly. Okay. He worries when I'm not home. I need to make his breakfast. I'll make his breakfast, Mom. You just rest. Daniel watched this exchange, watched the lie slip between them like a comfort blanket, and he understood. Truth was a luxury for people whose minds still worked right. For everyone else, sometimes kindness meant letting them live in the reality they could handle. He left them there, mother and daughter, holding hands in a hospital room while the sun came up outside and drove to Sunrise Assisted Living. The facility was modern, clean, expensive looking. The kind of place that made promises about dignity and care and quality of life. The kind of place that charged $5,000 a month and still let a 90-year-old woman walk out into the night. The director, a polished woman named Mrs. Henderson, met him in her office. She was apologetic, professional, full of explanations about the malfunctioning alarm and the understaffed night shift and how this had never happened before. Daniel listened without commenting, took notes, filed everything away for the report he'd write later. But what he was really thinking about was the 32 other residents in this facility. How many of them were like Catherine? How many families had made the same impossible choice Jennifer had made, to trust strangers with the people they loved because they couldn't do it themselves? And how many more families were out there right now, waking up to the slow grief of watching someone disappear while their body stayed behind? He finished the interview, drove back to the station, filed his report, clocked out at 7:30 a.m., 12 hours passed when his shift should have ended, drove home to his quiet apartment, and sat in his car in the parking lot with his phone in his hand. This time he called. His mother answered on the second ring, her voice bright and warm. "Daniel, what a nice surprise. Is everything okay?" "Yeah, Mom, everything's fine. He swallowed hard. "I just wanted to hear your voice. Make sure you're okay." "I'm perfect, mijo. Just having my coffee. Are you sure nothing's wrong? You sound strange." "I'm sure. I love you, Mom. You know that, right?" There was a pause, then softer. "I know, baby. I love you too. But you're worrying me." What happened? So he told her about Catherine Walsh, about finding her on the highway, about Jennifer's tears and the broken alarm and the impossible choices, about how fragile everything was, how quickly a life could unravel, how easy it was to fail the people you loved, even when you were trying your best. His mother listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "That poor woman," she said finally. "That poor family." "Yeah, Daniel, you did a good thing. You saved her life." "I found her. That's all. I didn't save anything. She's still sick. Her family's still struggling. Nothing's fixed." "Some things can't be fixed, mijo. Some things you just survive day by day, the best way you know how. But you gave that woman another day. You gave her daughter another chance to say, 'I love you.' That matters." Daniel felt tears prick his eyes. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just don't call often enough to notice." She said it gently, without accusation, but Daniel felt it anyway. The guilt, the awareness that he'd been taking her for granted, taking for granted that she'd always be there, always be okay, always be his mom. "I'm going to do better," he said. "I'm going to call more, visit more, check on you." "I'd like that, but Daniel, don't call because you're scared. Call because you want to. There's a difference." "I do want to." "Then I'll be here. I'm always here." They talked for another 20 minutes about nothing important. Her garden, his cases, the weather, the neighbors, normal things, easy things, the comfortable rhythm of a relationship built over decades. When they hung up, Daniel sat in his car and cried for the first time in years. Cried for Catherine Walsh and Jennifer and all the families navigating this terrible journey. Cried for his abuela and the way Alzheimer's had stolen her piece by piece. Cried for his own mother and the fear that someday, maybe, he'd be the one making impossible choices. But mostly he cried because he was human, and this was a human story, and sometimes that's all you can do. 3 weeks later, Daniel got a call from Jennifer Walsh. Catherine had been moved to a memory care facility that specialized in Alzheimer's patients. It was more expensive, but Michael and David had agreed to help with the costs. Jennifer had cut back her hours at work so she could visit every other day. They were managing, day by day, like Daniel's mother had said, surviving. I wanted to thank you, Jennifer said, for finding her, for being kind, for not judging me too harshly. I didn't judge you at all, Daniel said, and he meant it. Yes, you did, a little, but that's okay. I judge myself every day. How's Catherine? She has good days and bad days. Mostly bad, honestly. But yesterday she looked at me and said my name. Just for a second, she knew exactly who I was. And it was, Jennifer's voice broke. It was enough. After they hung up, Daniel added a reminder to his phone. Call Mom every Sunday at 7 p.m. He'd keep that promise. He'd do better. Because that's all any of us can do. Pay attention. Show up. See the people we love before it's too late. Before they're walking alone in the dark and there's no one there to bring them home. So here's what I'm asking you. When was the last time you really checked on your parents? Your grandparents? The elderly people in your life? Not a quick text or a rushed phone call, but really checked? Because Catherine Walsh was a teacher who shaped hundreds of lives, a wife who loved her husband for 51 years, a mother who raised 3 children, and she almost died alone on a highway because everyone was too busy, too tired, too overwhelmed to notice the cracks forming. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness, about remembering that the people who raised us, who built the world we inherited, deserve better than our leftovers and excuses. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one thing you're going to do differently after hearing this story? One call you're going to make? One visit you're going to schedule? Because we can't stop time. We can't prevent aging or illness or the heartbreak of watching someone we love disappear. But we can show up. We can be present. We can make sure no one has to walk alone in the dark. Hit subscribe if this story reached you somewhere deep. Share it with someone who needs the reminder that time doesn't wait, that someday becomes never faster than we think. Let's make sure every Catherine Walsh out there has someone watching, someone who notices, someone who cares enough to bring them home.